Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to completely demystify the hidden financial machinery powering every single dental visit. I mean, we all know what it's like to actually go to the dentist, right? But the intense business reality happening just out of sight, it is absolutely fascinating.
Okay, let's dive into this. Picture the last time you sat in the dentist chair. You've got the paper bib clipped around your neck, the bright light overhead, you get your filling, you tap your credit card at the front desk, and boom, you walk out. For us as patients, that transaction feels completely finished. It's clean, it's linear, but for the practice, that physical visit just activated an incredibly complex, multi-layered administrative engine in the background. So, to understand how a single dental visit actually becomes revenue, we're going to track the high-stakes journey of $1 through 5 chronological stages. The simple visit illusion, the financial pre-flight check, the clinical documentation bottleneck, billing's Bermuda Triangle, and finally, chasing outstanding revenue.
Let's get right into part 1, the simple visit illusion, where we contrast the physical reality with the financial one. As we were just talking about, when the patient leaves with a numb lip, the clinical interaction is totally over. But that is exactly when the revenue cycle management, or RCM, engine really sparks to life. It's this massive, invisible network involving the front desk, billing departments, clearinghouses, and insurance companies. Keeping any medical facility open relies entirely on decoding this complex background engine.
Which brings us to part 2, the financial pre-flight check. This is all about eligibility and accountability.
Now, what's really interesting about this is that the financial success of a visit is actually often decided days or weeks before the doctor even steps into the room. When the staff checks a patient's benefits, they're tracking a ton of data. But the absolute most critical piece of information? It's the verified by column. This is the literal cornerstone of administrative accountability. If you don't track exactly who verified the insurance policy, the structural integrity of your entire billing process just falls apart. Think of it like a chaotic restaurant kitchen. If a well-done steak gets sent out to a table instead of a rare one, management doesn't just toss the steak in the trash and move on blindly, right? They check the point of sale ticket to see exactly which server rang it in incorrectly. It's not about punishment. It's about finding the point of failure so the practice doesn't just absorb a massive loss for a simple, honest mistake or a lack of training.
Another huge part of this pre-flight check is prior authorization. Insurance payers are managing risk across millions of members, so before they shell out for an expensive procedure, they want empirical proof that it's actually necessary. That prior authorization confirmation number, that is your financial golden ticket. Without logging that specific alphanumeric string before treatment begins, the practice is blindly playing financial roulette. They are assuming total liability for the procedure with zero guarantee of reimbursement. No way around it. All right, moving on to part 3, the clinical documentation bottleneck. This is what happens when pristine digital systems collide head-on with human reality.
Let's say it's game day. The patient successfully arrives, they're treated, the scheduling software says the appointment happened, and the front desk even collected the copay. But suddenly, the billing team is completely paralyzed. You might be wondering, why can't they just generate a claim for the filling everyone knows just happened?
So the crucial point is the ultimate unbreakable golden rule of healthcare compliance. If it is not documented, it did not happen. Period. Proof that the patient was physically in the building or that a credit card was swiped means absolutely nothing to an insurance payer. What they need is the official, legally signed narrative from the provider detailing the exact diagnosis and the materials used. And honestly, this creates a massive bottleneck. Picture a dentist bouncing between operatories all day long, managing anxious patients, putting out literal and figurative fires. By 5 p.m., decision fatigue and sheer exhaustion set in. So what happens? They leave their progress notes unfinished for the next morning. But tomorrow brings a brand new packed schedule. Soon, one day of unsigned notes becomes a full week. The operating expenses are paid, the materials are used, but until that doctor clicks sign, the billing department cannot legally submit the claim. That unsigned note is actively starving the practice of cash flow. It is literally trapped capital. Which leads us straight into part 4, billing's Bermuda Triangle. Let's look at claims processing and some terrifying logistical traps. So even when the notes are finally signed, the money still isn't safe. The data moves into a phase where claims can just seemingly vanish into thin air. We're looking at 3 closely related but vitally different operational traps here. Claims not created tracks granular clinical details that haven't been turned into a bill yet.
Procedures on hold strips away the clinical stuff and focuses entirely on trapped money, usually waiting on things like missing x-rays. And then there's claims created, not sent. And this brilliantly illustrates the agonizing reality of revenue leakage through a simple e-commerce analogy. Think of claims not created like a product sitting on a warehouse shelf. It exists, for sure, but your packing team hasn't put it in a shipping box yet. But claims created not sent? That means the claim was boxed, taped, labeled, and placed out on the loading dock, but somebody simply forgot to hand it to the mail carrier. Because here's the thing, just creating a claim does not generate revenue. Submitting a clean claim is what actually moves the process forward. A staff member might just miss one final digital hurdle at the very end of the day to transmit a software batch, and boom, thousands of dollars freeze in place. This right here proves why daily, meticulous operational oversight is absolutely mandatory. And finally, we arrive at Part 5, Chasing Outstanding Revenue. This is all about reconciliation and a very stressful ticking clock. Let's say the claims are successfully sent and the insurance company issues a payment. Awesome, right? Well, you have to be meticulous here to avoid what's called phantom revenue. If your dental software shows an electronic payment was issued, but you don't reconcile that exact transaction number to a physical, clear deposit on your actual bank statement, you're just pretending you have money. Revenue is simply not collected until it matches a real bank deposit.
Let's move to and see how this builds into the most high-stakes part of the cycle, the accounts receivable or AR aging report. When money doesn't arrive, it starts falling into these ticking time buckets: 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, and over 120 days.
Now, a claim hanging out in the 30-day bucket, that's usually just normal processing. No big deal. But 90 days is the absolute panic point. As a claim ages, the probability of you actually collecting it plummets. At 90 days, the payer system fundamentally disagrees with your submission. They denied it, they lost it, or they need documentation that you never sent them. And this is exactly where the claim note column comes in. Now, these aren't just boring Excel columns. This is a chronological diary of a billing team's desperation. It documents every single date called, every representative spoken to, every minute status update. It perfectly represents the immense human friction required to force a massive system to finally pay what is owed before those filing deadlines expire forever. And if all else fails, you hit the nuclear option, sending the account to outside patient collections. At this point, you aren't tracking clinical details anymore. It is strictly a debt issue. Resorting to collections is a glaring indicator that several earlier internal systems completely failed. Maybe the estimates were wrong, or the follow-up was just inconsistent. The practice is now forced to sacrifice a massive percentage of their owed revenue to an agency just to recover a tiny fraction of it. Tracing this journey from a simple insurance verification all the way to a collections report reveals something pretty profound. Whether you're running a dental clinic or, say, a freelance design business, tracking those micro steps between agreed-upon work and actual cash in the bank is a universal struggle. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? How much of our massive trillion-dollar modern healthcare system is precariously balanced on a single exhausted human simply remembering to click submit at the end of a long day? The financial vital signs of a practice are literally hidden in plain sight within these administrative reports. A missing authorization number or one unsigned note isn't just an annoying IT artifact. It is the fundamental difference between a thriving business and a failing one. So I leave you with this final, hard-hitting question to examine in your own operations. Where is your revenue getting stuck? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you in the next one.